6 o'clock, if we'll please rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Darren, would you make sure your microphone is on?
Checking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Here.
Peter?
Here.
DeCook?
Here. Are there any agenda deletions or changes? Seeing none, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed hereunder under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. Claims at a figure of $2,007,096.89 with a fringe of $123.40. B, minutes to approve regular meeting April 6, 2021, closed sessions April 4, 2021, April 6, 2021, work session April 13, 2021. Payroll removal, Megan Andrew, Assistant to the Board of Supervisors and Budget Coordinator, Board of Supervisors Office, effective April 30th, 2021. D, consultation agreement with Megan Andrew. E, new hire, Megan Minor, Budget Director, Board of Supervisors Office, effective April 27, 2021. F, classification change, Karen from Conservation, Co-Director, Education, Naturalist Conservation, effective April 14, 2021. G, classification change, Mark Wilson, Co-Director, Operations Conservation, effective May 1, 2021. H, magistrate appointing commission appointments. I, suspension of property taxes pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 427.9. J, set public hearing date for May 4, 2021 at 9:35 a.m. to consider conveyance of property to D.R. Horton, Iowa LLC. K, set public hearing date for May 4, 2021 at 9:40 a.m. for rezoning application for land from A1 to RR1 and RR1 to RR1 submitted by Thomas Nicholson, 200 West Orchard Avenue, Indianola. L, set public hearing date for May 4, 2021 at 9:45 a.m. for rezoning application for land from A1 to M1 submitted by Wright Real Property Holdings LLC, 5930 Grand Avenue, West Des Moines, Iowa 50266. And M, set a public hearing date for May 4, 2021 at 9:50 a.m. for final plat for Vista Ridge Plat 1 submitted by Land Holding LLC, 12119 Stratford Drive, Suite B, Clive, Iowa 50325.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2 on the agenda is consider claims from Iowa Process Service with possible action.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims submitted for Iowa Process Service, and we are looking at statement 176970 and statement 176969.
Second the motion. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Abstain.
DeCook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3 is a public hearing to consider proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total project cost of the Warren County Justice Center, furniture, fixtures, and equipment with possible action. That public hearing is to begin at 6:05. I have 6:04. And probably a half. So we'll wait another 20 seconds. I have 6:05. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing?
I will make a motion to go into public hearing to consider the proposed plans, etc. for the Warren County Justice Center furniture, fixtures, and equipment.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. We are now in public hearing. And who is presenting this one?
Mike Lewis.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
The Warren County Board of Supervisors commissioned Shive Hattery to produce bid documents for bid packages 1 and 2 for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment on the Warren County Justice Center. Bid package number 1 had to do with state contract related work, and bid package number 2 had to do with open lines. The estimates that Shive Hattery produced associated with the work was $447,260 for bid package number 1 and $126,900 for bid package number 2. Bids were received on both packages. The first bid package was the 23rd of March, and the second bid package was received on the 30th of March. We have produced recommendation letters to the board on April 16th for both packages. Bid package number 1, our recommendation letter is for Story Kenworthy. And bid package number 2, our recommendation letter is for Hendrickson out of Brookfield, Wisconsin. So both were successful bidders on the work and fell under the budget for the work. So happy to take any questions. I believe you have our letters in front of you for our recommendations relative to the public hearing. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Can you give me the bid amounts again?
Yes, on bid package number 1, the base bid amount for Story Kenworthy was $383,363.48. On bid package number 2, the lowest responsible bidder, Hendrickson, was $97,836.78.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
We are in public hearing. Is there any comments from the public? Or online?
I see none online.
Okay. Looks to me like our plan of action would actually be in agenda item 4.
No, there's action in 3 as
3.
well. You have to approve the plan, specification, and form a contract if that's your,
Perfect. Good.
Do we need to
you
close
need
that?
to go out of public hearing.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye.
Okay,
Yep, there's your action item.
I'd like to make a motion to move to approve the plan, specification, proposed contract, and estimate of cost for the Warren County Justice Center furniture, fixtures, and equipment packages 1 and 2.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Heater.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, number 4 is award contract for Warren County Justice Center furniture, fixtures, and equipment with possible actions. A is package 1 on contract, B package 2 open lines.
I'd like to move, or do you have something?
I'd like to make another comment now that we're in the award phase. In your recommendation letter from Shive Hattery on bid package number 2. Just a comment for the board. There was a bid irregularity. Impact Interiors was the potential low bidder on bid day at the bid opening. We contacted Impact Interiors and they had a line item on their bid form that they did not fill in. It was a $22,000 line item. And so that made Impact Interiors, if we considered that line item to be at $104,000, which is why we are recommending Henderson this evening for your award. Also, in conversation with the county attorney's office, you have a bid bond on Impact Interiors, and so it is not Shive Hattery's discretion to decide how you choose to pursue that, but we have made a recommendation that the county attorney consider that action on that bid bond for your future determination. So I just wanted to make sure you were clear on that, and then it is also in our recommendation letter. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
You might want to discuss the alternate on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion here shortly, but yeah, I think it's important for the board and the public to know there was an alternate on the bid package number 1 that we will not be approving because that alternate was regarding some furniture walls. We did a comparison between fixed walls in this particular part of the building and the furniture walls, and the furniture walls ended up being considerably higher. In this particular case, it's in the, that's not the case in other sections of the Justice Center, but in this particular case, with the analysis done by Shive, we're good. So, I guess if there are any questions on that, so I would make a motion to award the contract to the apparent lowest responsible bidder for the following Warren County Justice Center furniture, fixtures, and equipment packages. Bid package number 1, we termed as on contract, Story Kenworthy, $383,363.48 without bid alternate number 1. And bid package number 2, termed as open lines for Hendrickson in the amount of $97,836.78.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Heater?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 5 is consider Justice Center request with possible action to move forward with change order. We have A, ASI number 14, and B, PR number 14.
Let's see, the ASI, help me out, Mike, if if you wanna come up and cover those.
I'll come back up again.
It's
my night.
It's a good thing you were here. It's a good thing you were here.
Didn't realize those were for Mike, I'm sorry.
All right. All right, ASI number 14 is the document that we use to give to the contractor for the construction of the walls. Supervisor Heater, you just mentioned that there was an alternate for furniture walls, alternate number 1 that was not accepted. So ASI 14 is to put these walls into hard construction. So it's the counterpart for that. I believe the DCI group would like to put in front of the board the change orders associated with this. Alternate number 1 was approximately $71,000 to construct this work in a furniture wall solution. And the order of magnitude that DCI is given to do this in the hard construction solution is between $45,000 and $50,000, which is why we're recommending you do ASI number 14. And so I believe with your action tonight, DCI will prepare the change orders for the work,
Mike, can you speak to the second one too?
Proposal request number 14 has to do with an adjustment that was made in the furniture solution. The award of the bid for the Story Kenworthy's portion of the work, bid package number 1, changed the layout of the sheriff's office. What previously was 6 offices became 5, and some other minor adjustments that happened in there. And so in proposal request number 14, we had to go back to the contractor who's already under contract to build that space and modify the mechanical, electrical, and ceiling layout to accommodate or to adjust to the layout, the new layout. And so what you have in proposal request number 14 is to pick up those modifications.
Do we have a ballpark estimate for that?
I believe I've heard from Nick Bruck that it's in order of magnitude around $13,000. And so really this is a necessary proposal request to go along with the furniture adjustments that have been made.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Maybe you can ask
What's that? Oh, yeah, you have an old agenda. Remember, I had to add it. I had to add it. So you just wanna go ahead and
Yep,
make a
gotcha.
motion to move those 2 items, into change order?
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to take the ASI number 14 and move it to a change order status. Do that first.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye.
And then I'd like to make a motion to approve PR number 14.
Okay, second.
Roll call?
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Right, motion's carried. Number 6 is a 6:15 public hearing to consider fiscal year 21 budget and possible action. I've got 6:18, so we are good to go. Do we have a motion to go into public hearing? Thanks, Mike.
Make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. We are now in public hearing.
The amendment before you, we have quite a few things on here. There's just been a lot of changes, particularly, most of these are due to COVID-19, the pandemic, and our responses to it. We're not required to adjust our revenues per se, but I did on this one because our revenues have been so different this year because of the pandemic. So let's start with the revenue piece of it. Fiscal year 20, the tax sale was not held because that was put on hold. So all of those delinquent taxes came in fiscal year 21. So you see in your revenues to amend that 71,600 in delinquent taxes that we hadn't had budgeted for because they normally would have been collected during tax sale in the prior fiscal year. State pass-through funds, we have a Secretary of State CARES Act grant for $29,200 that came in. A state grant for the CARES Act pass-through, $900,450. There was also a FEMA COVID-19 grant that came through for $6,140. So you'll see that adjustment of $935,790. We have a federal grant from the Department of Justice of $58,000. And then our interest, because the interest dropped, I have a deduction in the interest that was earned, and that's a reduction of the $300,000. And then on miscellaneous revenues, we have insurance funds for a wrecked vehicle that came in $30,360. There was a private grant for $17,900. Compensated loss for an accident that was at the West Annex building, damage to the building there, repayment, and then the reimbursement for the small business grant that was done. If the board recalls that you did that small business grant in fiscal year 20, what wasn't spent was returned to us, and so it's adjusting that revenue for that. On the expenditure side, you have service area 1. In the sheriff's department, we received that grant money to purchase the Durango, and so there's the adjustment for that vehicle, $30,800. The medical examiner, we knew when we discussed at budget time that medical examiner was running high in the budget and that we would need to amend that. We kind of changed our budgeting process on that as opposed to doing a 3-year look back. We were really just looking at what it had been in this last year when we budgeted for the next fiscal year. So there's a $75,000 amendment to that service area. If we go into service area 6, this is just an adjustment within conservation because they took out a lease purchase agreement. It just needs to change which service area within their budget. So you'll see that $20,050 show up later on in service area 0 because that became a debt payment instead of money that they were using for maintenance rock. Service area 8, this is an adjustment for wages for the temporary election. Due to the election during the pandemic, there was additional election help. So this is $19,500 to bring that line item back in order, as well as the FICA on top of it. Postage mailing, $39,000 for all that additional mailing during that time. And again, there was grant dollars on the back end of it that was received from the Secretary of State, and that's why we amended those revenues as well. The county special election and the city special election that were held, amending for those items. The treasurer's office received a vehicle. There was some repair and maintenance on that. And then the recorder's down payment for the recording, the imaging in fiscal year 22 that will be happening. The down payment is due now, so there's an amendment for that document and imaging of $20,000. In service area 9, there's adjustments to salaries for changes in staffing in both the auditor's office and the board of supervisors office. So there's adjustments in multiple line items for those, as well as treasurer's office postage and mailing. Of course, that's been up because of the pandemic. And the new equipment for the treasurer's office, the Qmatic system, and the folding and opening machines that were purchased for that. In the maintenance area, we have COVID-19 supplies of about $12,000 that we've spent for the various items that we've needed to implement during the pandemic. And then there's postage and mailing. Of course, all of this additional postage and mailing that everyone was doing, we had to put that additional postage into the machine to get it up to a number that would keep up with the volume. Service area 0, we have capital projects for the HVAC controls that the board previously approved with Excel. We have a dollar amount in there for the website design to be forthcoming, as well as the Welcome Center. So those all fall under that capital projects area of amending the budget. In the debt area, we have that lease purchase payment of that $20,000 and the interest of $50 that was conservation. So we're deducting it from service area 6, which is conservation, and putting it into that debt service, so it's properly within the budget. And then additionally, there's the transfer for conservation. During budget time, we discussed they received $25,000 in revenue for a grant that was specific for trails. And so we're transferring those funds into that special trail fund that they have, but we need to put that in the right spot on the budget, so that's why it's before you. And then you'll see it followed up with an additional resolution to follow. And that is the budget amendment.
Motion to approve the budget amendments as outlined by our budget director.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the board? Seeing none, roll call please.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
DeCook.
Aye. Thank you. Well done, Megan.
Yeah, well done.
Number 7, consider Interfund operating transfers with possible action. We have A, conservation, B, nutrition, C, wellness.
These are, even though the board budgets transfers, the code requires that there be a resolution for interfund transfers to follow those up. So this first one for conservation is that $25,000 that was just in your amendment, and that moves that $25,000 out of the general fund and into the conservation capital improvement fund for future trail use. The fund transfer for nutrition, we budget a transfer each year into nutrition. We usually do those in two halves, one at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year. So this is just cleaning that up so that it's done for this fiscal year. And that's $87,500 to go from general basic into the nutrition fund. And then there's the wellness transfer, and this is, again, we do these generally do these in halves. This is the second half payment of the $35,000 to be transferred from the general basic into the wellness fund to complete the fiscal year.
Make a motion to approve the transfers to conservation, nutrition, and wellness.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye, motion carries. Number 8, consider DCI Group additional services agreement with possible action. Where is it at?
Yeah.
This is agreement from DCI Group. This, along with the streetscape project coordination, you had that additional amount from Shy Battery for doing that coordination. DCI had told the board that there would be, if the board passed that, there would be a number coming from them as well. This is that agreement to do additional services to do that coordination, and the estimated lump sum is $12,500.
I'll make a motion to approve the DCI Group additional services agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye, motion carries. Number 9 is budget reports.
So these are through the end of March is what you're looking at for your budget reports. We have, we can start with fund balances. Let me get my paperwork here. Let me get the right paperwork. The general fund, is showing, that compared to last year that it's up almost 7 million. Of course, we've had those different revenues come in. We have 900,000 in the CARES Act that we didn't have last year. We've had, those items that have come in as well. The general fund expenses are 5% under budget right now, and that's 500,000 right there. So that's why we're showing kind of that influx right now. Nutrition, you can see, is way up, and that's because we increased that revenue. We increased that transfer, and then their expenses went down this year. So they're showing, you know, a good balance, and that's why next year when we did those estimates at budget time, you won't need to transfer as much money to nutrition next year because of the fund balances they're gonna be carrying. Rural basic, it's up to 1.4. We've talked about that. The local option sales tax has been much higher this year than was anticipated. So we have those funds. There's nothing that's concerning within those fund balances. At budget time, we anticipated that we would be, you know, $1 million or so over in general basic because of those CARES Act and depending on what. Now, we've made some adjustments since then with the HVAC, that kind of stuff. So we'll see where that falls in, but we had anticipated that those would be running a little higher. So I don't see anything concerning at this time with the fund balances. They all look reasonable. If we look at our expenditures, there are 5 budgets that are running at greater than 75% as of the end of March. The first one is the auditor's office, which we know is for election costs, and we just passed that amendment, should bring that in line. The second is the treasurer's office. That's that office equipment. Again, we just amended that. All of that should be brought into line. Item 3 is the recorder's office. Those are, appear to be in the part-time wages. I think there was, a difference in what was, budgeted versus what was, hired there. Item 4, the medical examiner, again, that one's over budget, and we did just amend that one. And item 5 is juvenile probation. So this one's only running at 76%, but this has been a budget that we have needed to amend in the past multiple times, so it's one to keep an eye on, in case there needs to be a reappropriation, or a second amendment to bring that in line before the end of your fiscal year.
Is that part of the attorney's office's budget, or is that?
It's a separate budget.
It's separate, okay.
It's a separate budget, but the invoices that run through there are coded by the attorney's office, but it is a separate budget.
Separate budget, okay.
On the revenue side, again, we'd anticipate 75% of revenues at this point. There's a few offices, 5, that are not, have not reached that 75%. The treasurer's office, we know that driver's license and interest income are much less than we anticipated. We just amended to bring that interest down because it's overstated at this point. The attorney's office, that revenue is through that fine fund revenue, and that will increase. The last check that we deposited was significantly higher, so they've met their threshold, and that number will increase now as they've met that threshold. Item 3, for DCAT, reimbursements are equivalent to expenses in the DCAT budget, so the expenses are in line with what we're receiving in reimbursements. 19 is your wellness fund. That second half transfer we just approved, so that will show in line once that transfer has been done. And then you have capital projects. There's an anticipated 911 communication project budget bond. That second issuance, so that's why that's not showing, because we have not issued those bonds yet. That is in process, so you'll be seeing more paperwork on that, and that should bring those revenues in place. Again, revenues compared to last year, there's just a lot of variances. Most of them are the same ones we've talked about all fiscal year throughout. There isn't anything that's unexplainable, so they're all reasonable differences between prior year and what we're looking at right now. Does the board have any questions for me?
I have one. It's an easy one. It's a nice one. The additional COVID funding that we discussed briefly at our last special meeting, do we have any further updates or timeframes and or restrictions? Any additional knowledge that maybe it was
The
clear last
Treasury
week?
issued additional guidance last Thursday. So they issued, and really, from what I've seen, just the basic of what the county needs to do right now to be able to receive those funds. And it has to do with being set up with the feds, having your DUNS number, that type of information, which they should have, because we've been actively doing a federal grant with the Department of Justice. But I will look into that website and make sure that all of that information is where it needs to be so that the county can receive those funds. At this point, I don't believe that there's additional detailed guidance on how to use the funds. It's more in the preliminary so that you can get the funds. This is the information you need to have of record with the federal government so that they can distribute those funds to you, which they have all of that information because the Department of Justice is doing grants with us right now, as well as FEMA. So we'll just verify that it's where it needs to be for that grant, and then establish a fund here at the county for those to deposit to. And then the board can look further into how to spend those funds and what projects are.
And did they give a time frame on the guidance when they might anticipate dispensing guidance?
The first payment is supposed to come in May. The funds have to be spent by, I believe it was
2024 or 5?
2024, December 31 of 2024, off the top of my head is what I believe. But that's really the only update that I have for that. But I will try before the work session next Tuesday to delve a little deeper into that website and see if there's any additional information, and then give you an update if there was some place that I needed to enter the county's information that it's been done.
Sounds good. I was just curious. Thank you, Megan.
Yep.
Any other questions for Megan? Or any questions for new Megan? Okay, seeing none. Can we have oh wait, do we need to adopt budget reports?
No.
We don't, we just hear them.
Yes.
Number 10, receive and file reports of A, Recorder, B, Humane Society, C, Veterans Affairs, D, General Assistance, and E, Auditor.
We need to make motions.
We do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to receive and file reports A through E.
Second.
Roll call, please.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Heater?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 11, Supervisors report. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Just a quick update on the Warren County Justice Center. The project still remains on schedule, within budget. I just wanna thank Mike Lewis from Shy Battery for being here tonight, and Nick Bruck. Thank you, our partners, for, hanging in there with us. Streetscape looks like it is happening. It was, moved through their city council last night, and by all indication, that project is a go. So it'll be critical that we keep an eye on how we coordinate, how we manage through that process. I see no reservations whatsoever. Personally supportive of the streetscape project and helping it any way that we can here. There was just a little bit of roof damage from the wind about 6 or 7 days ago. We patched up that work, and the recommendation is to redo a small section of the roof. We're looking at that. There will be a few more owner-directed change orders coming to the board as we go on. We'll hit those in our next work session, try to keep you up to speed and get your input on what's a viable project for the board and what's not. Which kind of making the recommendation to slow those down, getting a little more apprehensive around changes as the project comes closer to a finish. You'll see like some security equipment coming from the sheriff's office and the entry of the new justice center. That wasn't in our original bid package. It's something that's probably we're gonna deem to be necessary. I did make a visit to Story Kenworthy to look at the modular wall, furniture walls is what we're calling them. The technology is very impressive. I'd like to take a moment and talk about the Harvest Academy. It's a therapeutic center that just arrived here in Warren County back in November. I was very impressed with their leadership, their curriculum, how they go about their business. It's a very innovative. It's something. Their process is something that is new to the Midwest. They're totally sustainable on their own. If you are a student at the Harvest Academy, you're required to get up at 5:15 in the morning. You're required to go to work. They have a moving company. They do landscaping, general maintenance. They keep very busy, and I was just impressed, and hope that the board members get out there and take a look at that operation. There's a recycling issue, in case anybody hasn't seen it across the street, and I had a couple meetings, and we're trying to work out various solutions. Megan smiles. Good to see Megan smiling. But I mean, it's an issue that I don't know what the solutions are. I just know that, a lot of that recycling product is not getting to the intended, it's not getting to where it needs to go. So, more to come on that. Some good news out of the treasurer's office. They have got their Q-Matic system up and running as of today, and it is now available to the residents of Warren County and all over, I guess, to make an appointment online to get in and get your titles transferred, get your driver's licenses, appointments made, and there's no need to make a phone call unless you want to. And of course, the phone lines are still open and still available. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Crystal?
Yes. Okay. Since our last board meeting, we did some final interviews for budget director position. Harvest Academy tour, and as written on their flyer, it says this is a privately funded and does not accept government funding facility that the board was invited to tour. I toured the inside of the Warren County Justice Center, which is, as Darren pointed out, on budget and on schedule to complete in March of '22. Met with the auditor to discuss current issues. Met with the engineer also to discuss and get updates on issues. Met with the 911 director, and our 911 communication system has several sites ready for power and looking at a July timeframe to be live. Met with citizens facing issues like parking and trash on the square, road ditches, and about certain department complaints. Discussed with IT, public health, emergency management, HR, and conservation updates. Treasurer, like Darren pointed out, Q-Matic will be going live tomorrow for appointments, but today was kind of a trial run within the office. And then yesterday I received a call from ISAC, and they extended an invitation for me to be on the ISAC committee to review and dispense information pertaining to the American Rescue Act. And then at the last board meeting, I did not give a report, so I will give my activities from the last board meeting, which is, we did our first round of interviews for budget director, met to discuss the Warren County Justice Center change orders with the attorney and the coordinating clerk, met with the auditor for updates and ADP presentation, met with departments to get updates from them, including conservation, and I have an update from them. They are working with Snyder and Associates for a cost estimate of resurfacing the Great Western Trail. It's a bike trail up in Norwalk area. So that will be an ongoing project and will require grants and a while to work through. Next week, half of the phase 1 of the new educational exhibits will be installed at the Annette Nature Center. Staff is still working on mowing parks and completing prescribed burns. The education staff will be starting field trips in April and hosting a variety of public events. And they had their FWCC Osprey 5K trail run. Okay, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, you mentioned the burns. They had one scheduled, was it last night? Maybe? Monday? Oh, was it, is it tonight now? Did they move it? It was tonight. Yeah. I was just gonna note that, it would be difficult to burn with the snow that we recently had, so I was sympathetic, but I do think they'll reschedule it. But it should be quite nice. I hope to find out when they do it, because it'll be a cool thing. They're doing a lot of good stuff down there for sure. My report, looking pretty short. I had a HERDA meeting. Attended a benefits meeting for health benefits with our broker. That actually was going in the right direction. And, I was pleased with that. More to come, but it seems like cost-wise, we're doing pretty well by holding the line, which is relatively difficult in 2021. When you're not having that large increase, that's probably a win for health benefits. Met with the mayors of Norwalk and Carlisle. Did attend a Harvest Academy board meeting, and I'm meeting with Harvest Academy again solo on Thursday. I do want to make an apology publicly. The Harvest Academy board meeting that we had, I'll just say this, I think you gotta own up when things don't go the way they should. I think we could handle that meeting a little bit better. The neighbors were there was a lot of emotion and some anger and some surprise. But ultimately, it was still my job as the chair, whether it was a somewhat informal meeting or not, should have taken a little more rein into that one. So, I'll own that. Did hear from the neighbors, didn't get a chance to talk with the folks there and get a tour, but at the end of the day, I think it just could have been handled better. For that, I'll own it. And so I'll be going back to get some more information from them Thursday. Let's see. Couple constituent matters on some gravel. Sadly, our county still is dealing with dumping. I know that in our last budget meetings earlier this year, we did allocate some funds for trail cameras and maybe some additional patrols. That time is now. I want to get after that. There's just way too much of it, and ultimately, if we don't make some examples and catch some folks doing it, I don't see it not ending. So we'll keep pressing on that, but we do have the funds for it. Again, we're a little bit early in the fiscal year, not quite there yet, but we'll be moving forward with that. And lastly, I'd like to end on a win, and that is we had our IT director notify us in a special meeting that our phone costs came down somewhat remarkably. And that might not seem like a lot, but it was a couple $1,000s a month. And I genuinely do view the rule here that every dollar that comes in, even CARES dollars to some extent, but a lesser extent, any dollars that are really collected through property taxes in the county that goes to the county share, those are all to be used prudently in my mind. And so anytime that we're getting a similar service or a better service, but for less resources, it was just one of the easier decisions that we as a board get to make. But I appreciate it when people are going above and beyond to try to find those savings, because it does matter. It does really matter. Lastly, I will say this is Megan Andrews' last night here, and I just want to tell the folks that I've really enjoyed working with her. And we have Megan Miner, who will be our new budget director, and she is here as well. And I look forward to working with you as well. So that is my report tonight. Next up, we have public input. Do we have anyone here in the room or online who would like to comment? Seeing none, our next meeting date is May 4, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Hey, Megan, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize I was on mute. I just wanted to say that, I know that I CC'd you and I CC'd the board, on earlier, maybe last week, on the transfer of the contact from the Justice Center from you to myself, now that you're leaving. And I just wanted to say that I know I appreciate all the work that you put into it, balancing everything down to the very penny and being a stickler over the very last penny. And it'll make things so much easier for me moving forward to be able to present all that to the board, knowing that, you know, you worked hard and that, DCI and Shive, I know, appreciate all the work that you've done to make things smooth for this transition, and I feel like I might have some big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Our next meeting date is May 4, 2021 at 9:30. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Tracy?
McIntyre?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
DeCook?
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your time.